All right, so if Islam Makhachev defeats Jack Della Madalena at UFC 322 next week, and by the way, that's a big if, it is not a given, okay? He will join Anderson Silva in having the longest win streak in all of the UFC history. 16 fights altogether, undefeated. That is phenomenal. So the question is, does that mean that Islam Makhachev would automatically be one of the GOATs, kind of held in that kind of high regard?
In the UFC, I have one goal. I don't want to leave the UFC without second belt.
There's no right or wrong answer to this, and it's purely subjective. However, the opinion is that he would, okay? Now, when you think of the greatest of all time, you think about names like Anderson Silva, John Jones, George St. Pierre, to name but a few. Demetrius Johnson's in there as well. But when you go through all the wins that these people had, we got Amanda Nunes at 12, by the way. Max Holloway had a 13-fight win streak. Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is, according to a lot of people, the greatest of all time. He had a 13-fight win streak. Demetrius, also 13. John Jones, a 13-win streak. George St. Pierre, also a 13-win streak. Merab Dvalishvili, a man that's flying under the radar. He's on a 13-fight win streak. Kamaru Usman, okay? 15 wins in a row. Unbelievable. Islam Makhachev is currently on 15 wins in a row. By the way, he defended the belt at lightweight 4 times, okay, which is more than anyone else. So he's without a shadow of a doubt the most successful lightweight that the UFC's ever had. And then, of course, sitting at the top of the pile is the great Anderson Silva.
It's normal. Come on, guys. It's normal.
Now, what you've got to remember is that Anderson Silva, a lot of his wins, they were title fights. Anderson Silva's first fight in the UFC was against Chris Lieben. Chris Lieben said in the promo piece, oh, this guy's used to knocking out lesser competition in Japan.
If he gets in there with me and I knock him out, he may want to go back to Japan or somewhere where the competition's a little easier.
And then he goes out there and gets absolutely starched. Chris Lieben was a tough guy. He had a hell of a chin, but it took 49 seconds for Anderson Silva to obliterate him. And then it took 2 minutes, 59 seconds in the first round when he fought Rich Franklin for the middleweight strap to become the champion of the world. And he rearranged the nose on Rich Franklin as well, poor guy. And then I think he did it the second time as well when he knocked him out at UFC 77. That went down in Cincinnati, Ohio, Rich Franklin's hometown. Now, what you got to remember though, is that yes, Islam, if he beats Jack, and again, a big if, and we'll talk about that in just a second. You got to remember that Anderson Silva took place in 13 title fights. So 13 out of those 16 were for title fights. He also went up to light heavyweight 3 times where he wiped the floor with Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffin, and James Irvin. And he looked bloody good doing it. Now, when you look at Islam Makhachev, and this certainly isn't any kind of knock on Islam Makhachev, Islam is a phenomenal fighter, and I'm a tremendous fan of his. But the people he beat at lightweight were Renato Moicano in the title defense, Dustin Poirier, Volkanovski twice in a row, Charles Oliveira, all amazing wins. Bobby Green isn't like, one of the greatest, but look how quickly he beat Bobby Green. He made it look easy. He beat Dan Hooker, who was fighting in a main event in a couple of weeks against Arman Sarukian. Thiago Moises, not an easy man to beat. Drew Dober, David Hamos, Arman Sarukian. The other half of the main event in Qatar, Doha, Cajun Johnson, Gleason Tebow, Nick Lentz. Anyway, the point that I'm making is he fought very, very good competition. Is it on the level that Anderson Silva faced? Who knows? Who cares? But these are the conversations that people are going to have. When you look at George St. Pierre, again, 13 fights. A lot of those were title fights as well. Out of George St. Pierre's 13-fight win streak, 12 of them were title fights. So it's not a knock on Islam Makhachev. It's really not. But it's just a little bit different. Winning fights is one thing. Winning title fights is something very different. When you have the ability to change your opponent's life so they are leaving no stone unturned. This is the big one. They're pulling out all the stops. They're spending a fortune in training camp. They're flying in all the best training partners from all 4 corners of the world because they want to beat you. That is what you face every single time when you're the champion. And that is what these guys were able to do when they were champs, okay? And to amass these crazy long win streaks. 12 title fights for George St. Pierre, and of course his final one was when he choked me out at Madison Square Garden. Cheers, George. Congrats, buddy. And then we've got John Jones as well. We don't need to go through John Jones's resume. It is stacked. It's phenomenal. He took out legends after legend. He went through multiple generations of great champions. And all of this isn't even a conversation if Jack Della Madalena beats Islam Makhachev.
I just see like a finish. I see a finish happening. I see the crowd going wild and just turning to the corner and just see him going berserk.
Now, Islam is a big favourite, and I kind of understand why, okay? Because he's a special kind of fighter. When you look at him, the lineage that he has for number one from the Dagestan with Team Habib and Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, they're cut from a different cloth. They are a different breed. But they are still only human. Now, of course, Jack Della Madalena's last fight was against Belal Muhammad, and I've said this multiple times. That is the perfect warm-up fight. If you're going to face Islam Makhachev, the fight before it, by the way, when you become champion of the world, you go up against Belal Muhammad, who's kind of in some ways a welterweight version of Islam Makhachev. Yes, that sounds insulting to Islam, but they've got very, very similar styles. Look at what Belal Muhammad was able to do to Leon Rocky Edwards when he took the belt off him in Manchester, okay? It was a great performance. He went out there, he pushed the pace, he out-wrestled him, he picked him up, he slammed him on the head, he landed with the hands. It was a really good, strong performance, okay? He never gets tired. He is very strong. He's got phenomenal grappling, and they're all attributes that Islam Makhachev has as well. On the flip side, Jack Della Madalena is by far the better boxer. If this fight stays on the feet, and we know Islam, by the way, has been improving the striking all the time. He had some moments against Dustin Poirier. He looked pretty good on the feet. He's got some nice kicks, but he has been cracked. He has been knocked out, and of course, that's the one loss on the record to Adriano Martins.
Declaring the winner by knockout, Adriano Martins.
Doesn't matter. They all have losses. Jones has a loss. All right, doesn't really count. Anderson Silva has losses. George St. Pierre has losses. So I don't give a damn about that one. Mixed martial arts, he got cracked, 4-ounce gloves, he got caught. Islam came back, he did it in style, and now he's on the verge of making history, of joining Anderson Silva for having 16 wins in a row. That alone needs to be celebrated. And if he gets one more win, that would be 17 wins in a row, the longest win streak in UFC history.
Send him 2-3 years Dagestan and forget.
And not to mention, if he wins, the man would be a 2-weight division champion. So when we all sit around and we have these conversations about who's the GOAT, we talk about Habib, we talk about John Jones, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. Well, and again, a big if Islam Makhachev is successful next week, then you got to add the name Islam Makhachev to that list. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. Let me know what you think about everything that I said in the comment section, please. See you soon.